Hello family and friends and fellow YouTubers, it's Kim here from Hancock Homestead and Gardens, and today it is Saturday, August the 5th. It is time for Stirred Up Saturday, and today on Stirred Up Saturday we are going to be making the traditional bread and butter pickles out of the Ball Complete Book of Home Preserving. So I am finally getting around to making the pickles, and as you can see, I am going to be doing what they call water bath canning. And this is my water bath canner. In a water bath canner this size, which is 21.5 quarts, will hold 9 pint jars. Okay, this size is the pint. The recipe that they have listed says that it will make 5 pints. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to double the recipe, because since my water bath canner will hold 9 pints, I want to make that many. Now, should you not be able to make that many, you can always fill in the empty spaces with empty jars. But I'm hoping I'm going to have enough to do the 9 pints. So I'm going to read through the ingredients, and I'm going to read it as they have listed here in the book, but I will be doubling the recipe for my canning session today. So they're asking you to have 10 cups of sliced pickling cucumbers, 4 medium onions thinly sliced, a half cup of pickling or canning salt, and that is different than your normal salt. Okay, 3 cups of white vinegar, 2 cups of granulated sugar, 2 tablespoons of mustard seeds, 1 teaspoon of celery seeds, and 1 teaspoon of ground turmeric. Okay, so as you could tell, the recipe did not call for peppercorns. Alright, and I do have everything I need to start this recipe, or to start this canning process. Okay, so the first thing it tells me to do is, in a glass or stainless steel bowl, combine the cucumbers and the onions and the salt. Mix well, cover with cold water, and let it stand in room temperature for 2 hours. Okay? Alright, so I have to get my cucumbers, my onions, and then add the salt. I'm going to now use my mandolin slicer to slice these cucumbers and slice the onions. But before I do that, I want to take them over to the sink and give them a real good rinsing off. So let's go do that first. So I have this colander sitting in my sink, and I'm just going to spray them off. Make sure that there is no dirt on them from the garden. I actually think that these are clean because John is the one that likes to go out and gather the cucumbers, and I think he makes sure that he rinses them off when he brings them in. But we'll just go ahead and do this as another measure of precaution. You don't want dirt, obviously, because when you're canning, you don't want bacteria to get into your canning process. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to take the tips off just so that they don't get lost in the mix, because I really don't want to reach into a jar of pickles and find my tips in there. There is a difference between a pickling cucumber and a straight 8. The pickling cucumbers have a much tougher texture, and that way when they go through the heating process and they soften up, they won't become mush. so they do have a harder texture to them. Now, John will still eat them raw with dip. I do not like pickling cucumbers raw with dip. They're just a little bit too hard for me. A straight 8 has a softer texture on the inside and make a really nice salad cucumber because they're much easier to chew and to enjoy. Now, as some of you notice, I have my hair up in pigtails. And I don't wear my hair in pigtails just too often because, you know, I just don't think about it. But I had to do it today in honor of my mom, because I've told you guys how I used to help my mom do the canning. And when we would get ready to can, my mom would always tell me, Kim Ray, that's what she would call me, Kim Ray, go put your hair up in a ponytail or pigtails. Because she said, we don't want to be getting any hair in our canning process. I used to have pretty long hair. I kind of went through stages. So this is 4 cups. So I'm probably going to need at least 4 of these. That would be 16, but it's okay if we go over a little bit. So let's see. Let's fill this up until we get to 4 cups. Then we'll dump it out in our bowl. Okay. Yeah, don't forget to put the safety guard, or else you're going to have some fingers. You could very well slice a finger, because this thing is super sharp. So it's the first time I've used it. Well, I mean, I demonstrated it last night, but first time I've used it completely, and I forgot the safety guard. So you don't want to do that. There we go. Look at that. Okay, so I now have the 16 cups of cucumbers done. And whenever you pick your cucumbers, aim for smaller ones. Some of these were just left too long on the vine, and I'm sure they'll be okay. It's just when it comes to packing, the smaller ones are going to do better. So anyway. Alright, and now I'm going to do the onions. Now the onions have already been rinsed, but what I do need to do is cut off the ends. Get that part off of there. I'm in my bucket here. Okay. And then I'm going to take off that first round peeling. Down to one of the inner layers. Alright. That way you know you have a nice clean onion. And then once again I'm going to use my mandolin, and I'm going to just stick that on there. I'm going to make some onion slices. There. Not sure. I guess maybe if I'm kind of new at this thing, I think I'm going to have to put it on the plate because it keeps wanting to go. So I think it was designed to go on the plate. Alright. Yeah. Okay. So I got my book back out. And it says, in a glass or stainless steel bowl, combine cucumbers, onions, and salt. So I have my cucumbers, and I have my onions, and I have my salt. Alright, and then I'm going to add a half a cup to this. Okay, and you see the mixture down here, and I've got cold water going. So I'm going to cover these up with cold water. I'll wash that salt down into them. Alright. Set this over here. I'm going to let that set and soak in that salt water mixture. Get out the next batch. The reason you cover them is because you have, you know, you don't want to draw flies and stuff to your mixture. Okay, so I'm going to let these set for 2 hours in this salt water, and then we'll go on to the next step. I'll be back. Okay, so while your cucumbers and onions are soaking in the salt mixture, I want to go ahead and start getting my water heated, because it takes a while for water, this much water, to boil. Okay? In there? Alright. And another reason you do it this way, or I was always taught to do it this way, is because you don't want to put your hot pickle mixture into cold jars. You want to put your hot pickle mixture into hot jars. So this not only will sanitize the jars, although the dishwasher pretty much did that for me. They used to do this before they had dishwashers. But yeah, not only will it sanitize it for me, but it will also keep my jars hot. Alright. There we go. How many I got? 2 or 6. Ooh. Oh, this holds 9. Yeah, I think this is why my mom had me held all the time, is because of how heavy these are. I'm going to get mine. Okay, here we go. Oh. Okay, so now I'm over here. And I have put this one on the burner to start heating up. Keep my jars hot. Okay. I'm going to fill this one with hot water. Okay, friends. So, I've been having my cucumbers, my onions, sitting in this salt mixture for 2 hours now. Now what I want to do is I want to transfer it to a colander and rinse with cool running water until it's completely drained. Okay, and I guess that's to get off, you know, any of the excess salt. So I will go do that. Okay, so now I'm going to drain the cucumbers and onions into the colander. Colander is a pan that has holes in the bottom to allow fluid to leave. And I'm going to rinse these with cold water. Alright, so these have been rinsed and drained, and now they're ready to go into the heated pickle sauce. Okay, and then step 3 says, in a large stainless steel saucepan, combine vinegar, sugar, mustard seeds, celery seeds, and turmeric. Bring to a boil over medium-high heat, stirring to dissolve the sugar. Okay, so it wants you to add 3 cups of white vinegar. So there's 1. All right. Okay, and then it says to add 2 cups of granular sugar, and since I'm doubling, that means it's going to be 4. So there's 2. All right, and there is the second 2 cups, so there's 4. All right, it says add 2 tablespoons of mustard seeds, so that means I'm going to need 4. So here we go, 4 tablespoons. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right, and then it says 1 teaspoon of celery seeds. Okay. Now I'm doubling, so that's going to be 2 teaspoons. And then it says 1 teaspoon of turmeric. All right, I'm doubling, so that's 2 teaspoons of turmeric. All right, so this mixture should be enough for 10 pints of cucumbers. All right, now we gotta get this on and we gotta get this started boiling. Okay. All right, I need to bring this to a boil. Okay, then what you do is you stir that up. I'll bring you in for a close-up. And then you bring that to a boil again. It was boiling. You added all your cucumbers, onions, and now you bring it to a boil again. And then they'll be ready to start loading into the jars. Okay, so while I'm waiting for that to return to a boil, I have laid out everything I'm going to need to do the processing. I have a hot pad on which I'm going to be setting the hot pickle sauce. I have a hot or a saucer on which to set the hot jar, and then I have all of my equipment ready over here, washed and sterilized. All right. Okay, friends, so now I get to start the canning process. The first thing I'm going to do is use my little jar grabber. I'm going to reach in here and grab one of these jars. And that water's very hot, so you gotta be careful. Pour that out. Set it over here on my saucer. Take a lint-free cloth and dab it in some vinegar. Wipe around the rim. Try not to touch like I just did. Alright, there we go. Then I am going to use my ladle, and I have a plastic one so that I'm less likely to chip the jar. And I'm going to start filling that up. Okay, and you want it about, let's see, I think it says 1/2 inch from the top. Yes, 1/2 inch headspace. I want to double check that. Alright, so I'm going to take my bubble remover, squish those down in there. Alright, and now I'm going to add some of the juice to it. Measure, make sure I have my 1/2 inch. Just a tiny bit more. Okay. Then I'm going to take my rag, my vinegar wet rag, and I'm going to wipe that off again. Get all that residue that might have leaked over the side off. Because you want it to make a good seal. Okay. Then I'll take my magnet, grab one of the canning rings here. Alright, then I put that on top. Center, take one of your rings, put it on there, turn. Whenever it gets to the end, then give it a fingertip tightening. Take your jar lifter again, and this time you're going to put it into this pot, and you don't want to tip them. Okay? So I'm going to set that in there. And I'm going to fill up the rest of my jars. Okay, I don't know if you can tell or not, but it is boiling. You can see little bubbles floating to the top. Every now and then there will be a big one. So I'm going to set the timer for 10 minutes. Timer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There we go. Wish me luck. My timer's going off. That means that they should be finished. So I'm going to turn everything off. And without tipping them, I'm going to transfer them over there to the table. Don't want to tip them. So according to the book, I'm supposed to let them set and rest for 5 minutes, and then I can remove that outer ring. I think they're supposed to ping. It's a sound that you hear when they seal. If for some reason your pickles do not seal, you can go ahead and eat them. You just won't be able to store them on a shelf. They'll have to be kept in the refrigerator. Okay, so there are the 8 jars. You can see how pretty those look. See the pickles. Okay, friends, well, I waited the 5 minutes and then I removed all of the rings. And I did hear a couple of pings. I might have missed some of them. But if you're not sure because you didn't hear pinging, one way that you can test, and be careful doing this because there is hot liquid inside, is you can lift it up by the seal, and if it doesn't move, then that means that it is properly sealed. Okay, and all of these are properly sealed. So, I'm very excited. I have 8 jars of pickles. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you want to know more about our homestead and what we do on it, please subscribe. Hit that subscribe button over there in the corner. Alright, this is Kim from Hancock Homestead and Gardens saying bye for now.